Hello everyone, welcome to the third episode of my Let's Play with spoilers. Today, automated wiring madness, computer automation, quartz, trucks and more trucks. And more of everything, because we produce all items, every one of them, everyone! Yes, because we want to beat the game in 40 hours with a single factory. To succeed, the most important thing is to continuously produce useful things, and obviously it's a lot easier to make sure you always produce useful things in a single factory where you produce everything, and when you have a problem you realize it immediately, than having multiple factories distributed all around the map to make the different parts you need, because when one of them does not work correctly it can take hours to realize it. And before starting, don't forget the caption, I have a strong French accent. Just wait, I can do better. I have a strong French accent. Now let's go back to the Let's Play. We are now 18 hours into the game. Into 25 more hours, early access is finished, elevator package 4 is sent, and the golden cup is ours. As you can see, the old and new parts of the factory are connected to each other by a magnificent bed bus, and the platforms on the new section, the naked platforms of the new section, are filling up with assemblers and constructors. There are observation towers placed here and there to help me build, because for recording my video I use advanced game setting to fly, but outside of the recording of the video I play 100% normal game. And this new section of the factory is now supplying not only plastic and rubber, as seen in the last video, but now also caterium and quartz. This is what we will see in the third episode. But before starting, let's first take a quick tour of the hub. In the last episode we unlocked the whole production, so we are missing one very useful thing. It's the Jetpack, and now we are with it, so we will be able to fly and take a good view on all this area. Also, I remind you my obsession as we go checking the two most important assemblers of the whole factory: 3 smart plating and 4 versatile frames per minute at 100% efficiency. Perfect! We must produce continuously those 2 pieces all the time. Those 3 manufacturers on the right are also new. Soon there will be more than 10. They produce crystal oscillator for producing computers, and they will surround all the space elevator parts production area I built in the first episode. You can see above the start of the bed bus, which connects the first part of the factory to the new part of the factory toward which we are heading, because the upper part, the new factory on the upper lake, is the area where we will produce computers with crystal oscillators. We will also produce the high limiters necessary for the production of these crystal oscillators, and you can see those new production lines are very close from each other, and it is logical. We will soon bring back a new copper node in the same area to make copper sheets, both for circuits and high limiters. We need plastic and copper for the electronic circuits, so there's a lot of synergy here. The copper sheets will be built in the constructors line up in the middle of the area, while the computer will be built in an internal building you can just start to see right now. That's the very beginning of it. Those computers are built on the first floor, and on the second floor you will have the AI limiters, you will have the electromagnetic rods, and on the third floor you will have supercomputers. But for now, just one assembler is producing AI limiters. It's just what we need for the crystal oscillators. The computers produced at the first floor will be used to automate the adaptive control units, because we have already automated the modular motors. Indeed, if we go back to the storage area, you can see that thanks to the new crystal oscillator, we can manufacture motors much more easily than before. There is an alternate recipe that is very efficient. We produce motors with the excess of rotor and stator from the group of machines from the first episode. And by combining these motors with the rubber that we have just brought back from the upper factory to the lower part, the whole part of the factory, I can run two manufacturers. They are just under the storage area and they produce those modular motors I need. They are running at full capacity to unlock phase 3 of the space elevator, and we are there very, very soon now. But the most important, in fact, is not what you see now. It's the production of automated wiring. This is the first section we have built in the new factory, because it is the top priority to complete the game, as it is necessary to produce a total of 50,000 units of automated wiring. That is to say that we must produce several dozens per minute for something like 20 or 25 hours, continuously and at full capacity. And for now, we are producing around 50 and maybe soon 40 per minute. Which is good, that's clearly what I need. As you can see, we make the wires with cadmium rather than with copper ingots. There is an alternative recipe to do that. Honestly, it's not a very good recipe, but I use it to save copper. We are going to need a lot of copper for the nuclear pasta production, and the area we are building this factory is not so rich in copper, but it is very rich in cadmium. So I just want to keep those precious copper nodes for nuclear pasta as much as possible. And again, you can see I bring the cadmium by truck. The cool fact with this area of the map is that there is still a lot of road everywhere, which is really practical when you want to use truck. As you can see, I use a mod to place the assembler a foundation from each other. This is the only one I use on this let's play. I do this for purely aesthetic reasons. The assembler support base in the game is one foundation wide. There is absolutely no reason at all for the collision zone of the assembler to be 1.5 foundation. That bothering me, that's annoying me. So I use this mod to allow you to make very interesting alignment in machines, in particular for foundries and constructors that both are wide foundation, which allow you to have much better optimization of space and build sets that are much dense and aesthetic. If you look from the other side, we have, guess what? Another truck station to collect quartz this time, which is not very far again. I tell you, in this area of the map, you have everything. Trust me or not, I don't especially like and love trucks. But in this project, on this new save, I want to build factories that are extremely productive, extremely efficient, but which are quite small, because it's still much easier to decorate and detail. I do not want to cover the entirety of the biome like what I did during my previous project and save file in the Rocky Desert with the satisfactory or megafactory. I want to build with the landscape in this save file, and I don't want the developers' unmade scenery to be covered with a multitude of bed buses and giant train stations everywhere. I want my logistics to be nearly invisible, and that's why I try to use trucks whenever possible. For information, the nodes I use in this let's play are not affected by the change planned for the release of Satisfactory. I will not have to rebuild anything on this project. The quartz node we take a look at are still there in the final version of the game. The cadmium node we just seen before is just there at the same place in the release of the game. Same thing for copper, same thing for iron, same thing for everything. The only change is that there is a sulfur node I will use later that will move but not so far away, so it's not really a big problem. As you can see, I went from 1000 megawatts of power consumed and produced during the last episode, and now we are over 2000. We will continue to increase regularly up to 10,000 megawatts. But you will see that we do not need more than 10,000 megawatts of power. To complete the game in around 40 hours, the most important thing is to continuously produce useful things to unlock the Space Elevator Phase 4, which is what this factory is built for. Nuclear energy is not necessary to finish the early access at all. You don't need it. Just 10 megawatts of power and continuous production of useful stuff. That's the only thing. And obviously, it's a lot easier to make sure you always produce useful things in a single factory where you produce everything, and when you have a problem, you realize it immediately, than having multiple factories distributed all around the map to make the different parts you need. Because when one of them does not work correctly, it can take hours to realize it. To conclude, we saw how important it was to produce very substantial quantities of automatic wiring as soon as possible. We now have very solid production, which will allow us to build the 8,000 adaptive control units necessary for the creation of the 4,000 assembly director system needed for Space Elevator Package 4. But unfortunately, currently, our production of heavy frame and computers does not allow us to transform those into adaptive control units. So we store the automated wiring for a while, waiting to build the other parts of the factory which allow us to use this production, because in the end, all those automated wirings we are stocking in containers, we are going to use them. To transform the automatic wiring into adaptive control unit, the last major step still missing is to produce a substantial amount of heavy modular frame. And this is what you can see on what is currently displayed on the screen, since this is a spoiler of the following episode. Next week we will also start aluminium production, since package 3 of the Space Elevator will be completed and sent into the air. Again, I want to thank you so much for having watched this episode until the end. I'm really so grateful about that. And this is mega important for motivation and continuing to do content. So thanks again. Bye.